Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we're taking a look at the Mainz B. This is an absolutely incredible tier 8 cruiser, and I might have rated it a little bit too low on my tier list, given how much fun I've had with it recently. This ship can struggle in up tiers. Really all it has going for it is its main guns. And they're very powerful, so don't think of this as a bad ship just because all it has is guns. When you have really good guns like this, you don't really need too much else to carry games. You farm battleships incredibly well. Your AP is actually absolutely disgusting as far as its DPM goes. It's incredible. But it can be a little bit clunky to play. It's a sluggish ship with not the best rudder shift times or acceleration or top speed. Your armor is not particularly good, and you have relatively poor firing angles. It's like 38-degree firing angles. For light cruiser guns, that's not amazing, so you have to worry about taking a lot of damage. It also doesn't have the best concealment. It's a little bit clumsy in that regard. You take a lot of damage in this ship, especially if you're aggressive early game. That's where, with every light cruiser, or most cruisers in general, it's always best to play a little safe at the beginning of the game, and you become very powerful late game anytime you have opportunities to push in or to play a little more aggressive without as many battleships, crossfires, overmatch, all that stuff. As for that DPM, the AP DPM is kind of nuts. 468,000 AP DPM, and the HE DPM is only 204,000, so a little big drop off there. You get 38 millimeters of pen on this HE, meaning you don't even have to take IFHE to pen most battleships. American battleships have 38mm deck armor, so you're getting right through that. This ship is absolutely incredible as a farmer. For 7,850 doubloons right now with Black Friday, that's pretty good. We're going to take a look at Otago very soon. I haven't played that one in a little bit as well, but given how much fun I had in Mainz, I think this is a pretty solid pickup. It's honestly very fun is a tier 8. I think past times I've played this ship, I've gotten a little bit unlucky dealing with a lot of tier 10 games. Carrier games certainly are a struggle. It's a lot harder to use island cover in carrier games to prevent people from shooting at you, right? It's very useful to use island cover, stay undetected, fire your main guns. The shell velocity is a bit of a downside here, but anytime you're using island cover, it's a massive bonus. It allows you to use many more islands in this game, allowing you to still engage people over relatively tall islands. And that's something you definitely want to be doing. Mainz is a ship that is really based on how much damage can you avoid early game, I find. It's going to do a lot of damage as long as you're able to stay in the engagement. You have good range though. This isn't a situation like maybe Atlanta at tier 7. This is a kind of odd comparison, but Atlanta has really good DPM at its tier, but has almost no range, especially in up tiers. And at least with this ship, you have very, very good range for a tier 8 light cruiser, allowing you to play most matches relatively easily. You're not as limited as a Cleveland or, I mean, we were talking about Otago. You don't have as limited of range, so it allows you to play in some of the more passive games like we see these days. You've noticed the Lucian's proc here, so trying to get maximum DPM. We're close to a 5-second reload before much adrenaline rush even kicks in. It's it's very fun, man. Honestly, why hasn't Wargaming made a light cruiser German line, like just a tech tree line of Mainz? It would be very fun, I think. Maybe as a battleship player, it wouldn't be very fun to fight against all of those. But to play, Mainz is certainly a good time. It's very unique these days, too. We don't see German light cruisers like this. Maybe Wargaming has plans in the next few years to bring it through. But actually, that was pretty funny. The first tier 10 German cruiser we get is Hildebrand after Hindenburg all those years ago. I'm sorry, German mains, to bring that up again. I'm sure that's a sore point, but it'd be nice. Maybe Wargaming is going to do it. We do manage to deal with this flank relatively well. We survive with quite a lot of HP, and that's going to be very useful as our team is losing the C flank rather hard. And I mean, this HE is also just insane. I probably should be swapping to the AP much more than I am in these games that you're going to see. But the HE is so good, man. It's just so consistent with the pen. And I think we get around 10% fire chance, which isn't amazing. But at these mid tiers, tier 8, we don't have the full fire reduction on the tier 10 hulls yet. Certainly at tier 8, 10% fire chance is much better than it is at tier 10. At this point, we've managed to deal with the battleships over here. Definitely being very, very greedy for damage in this one. Probably should have shot the DDs a little bit more if I wanted to win more of these games. I wanted to show the absolutely insane damage potential of this ship, though. Although, hey, our fire does manage to collect the destroyer anyway. And now we have a choice. Do we push enemy spawn, or do we go back and try and deal with the enemy team? As always, it's much, much better to go back and deal with the enemies that are pushing. Pushing the enemy spawn is, in my opinion, almost never a good idea. I don't want to say never, but for the most part, it's just never, ever a good idea to push the enemy spawn, especially in a carrier game. Singling yourself out to be the carrier target, as well as just generally having a worse time when you're pushing in any ship. Even ships designed for pushing, if people are close enough, you're just so much stronger when you're kiting away just because of the shelf flight times. Anytime people are pushing into you, you're having a much shorter shelf flight time. It's much easier to land shells on target. Boise here, flat broadside to us. And unfortunately, we're not getting citadels. Not quite enough pen at this range, I guess. That's kind of the downside here of this light cruiser AP. It's no 203s. You're not punching through cruisers at range quite as easily. But the alpha damage is just immense, and we'll see that at closer ranges a little bit more. We do have torpedoes, which are very nice to have in brawling situations. Not that Mainz necessarily wants to brawl it out, but if you're using island cover, you can certainly make good use of these torpedoes to deal with people trying to YOLO in around you. You do get 8 launchers per side of these 6-kilometer German torps, so more than enough to take out almost anything in the game, unless you get really up-tiered into tier 10. Bismarck, Prince Eugen pushing our spawn here and trying to use island cover to farm them out, and then we get plane spotted. That's the thing, right? Plane spotting is just so oppressive as a light cruiser. It sucks for anyone. I shouldn't single out only light cruisers. It really just sucks for everybody, but we're playing a light cruiser, so we'll talk about it as a light cruiser today. Don't get me wrong, as a DD player, it also sucks a lot. It's really rough trying to play island cover, and then the planes just happen to come over and then spot you. So we do have to stay moving here. I don't really want to give up a broadside salvo to a Bismarck, or overmatching salvo even to Bismarck or Colorado, anything like that. Trying to get some fires on the Prince Eugen as well, since Bismarck is already burning. Sure, we could try and farm the Bismarck down, and it might have been a better idea to just burst him down. But Prince Eugen is a ship that I don't really want to deal with at close range either. He also has torpedoes and those 203mm guns, so I want to soften him up just a little bit. Destroyer gets spotted. The nice thing about this ship is you can honestly swap targets relatively easily. This isn't a ship where you have to really worry about your reload time. Some ships like Atago, this is why I'm bringing this up, by the way. Ships like Atago, longer reloads can be nice. I'm going to certainly talk about that in the Atago video. I really enjoy having a ship with a bit longer reload and more punching power. But the really convenient aspect of faster reloading guns is just that you're never really far from shooting again, and that allows you to deal with targets that pop up, such as a destroyer that just happens to get spotted. There's no long reload time, reducing your engagement, your DPM on these more targets of priority, I would say. When you have the longer reload, again, I'll talk about this in the Tago video, you can angle a lot more effectively and still do full damage, where when you have max DPM like this with a fast reload, you kind of just don't want to angle. You want to get a little... At least I do. I find myself getting a little too greedy sometimes to use all of my guns all of the time. Certainly a weak point of the Mainz here with our 38, 39 degree firing angles means I could take a lot more damage than I otherwise would if I was angling properly. At this point, though, the game has spiraled a bit out of control for our team, but we have a lot of HP. And that's key here. We've managed to save quite a bit of HP for this endgame, allowing us to play a little more aggressive, maybe stay a little bit more broadside, take a few bigger hits in exchange for using all of our DPM. Here comes that Prince Eugen I was talking about, a little worried. Pretty big hit from him, but we have the DPM. 8,500 damage salvo. Another one every, what, 4.5 seconds? Yeah, he gets like 2 salvos into us in the time we do like 4. The DPM is crazy. Bismarck also pushing in. We'll send out the torpedoes just in case he full sends at us. But we still have that AP, and we can't get through his lower belt, so we're going to aim upper belt or even try to hit his bow. You notice it's saturated there. It was pretty lightly colored, and then it got a little bit dark there from the hits. So you can go for bow or stern hits even in on battleships with your smaller caliber AP. You get really good damage there. It saturates quickly, but until it's saturated, there's some very nice damage to be had. We get ourselves a Kraken, carriers coming in to strike us, kill the Fletcher yet as well. Our AA sucks, by the way. Do not rely on this AA, but you really don't need me to tell you that. All AA sucks in this game at this point. But it is worth mentioning. I think on the page, the listing for this ship, they talk about high AA defense efficiency. Yeah, don't believe it. You already knew that, though, let's be honest. Boise, broadside on. I only get 1 Citadel. He's still broadside. Where are the Citadels, man? Typically, a nice element of playing a light cruiser like this against broadside ships that I enjoy much more than, say, battleships is you reload so fast that even if a dispersion trolls you and decides to not give you Citadels, well, your reload is so quick, so much faster than like a 30-second reload battleship, that you can follow up and get those Citadels anyway. Unfortunately, this time, that is not the case. A little disappointed there, I'm not gonna lie. But we do manage to finish off the Boise, but we are going to go down because the Z-23 will end up spotting us and Colorado will be overmatching us. We do avoid that initial salvo, but in this case, yeah, we're not going to survive this one. But 246,000 damage, 7 kills. Absolutely incredible. Notice our turrets are pretty slow here. I don't even get a shot on the destroyer. So this is with the turret traverse mod on the commander, by the way. We'll take a look at the commander build later. I didn't go for any insane lighthouse build. You certainly could with this ship, but I think given its base DPM, I don't think it needs too many buffs to its DPM. I would rather buff its survivability through concealment or survivability expert, that kind of thing. Insane damage, amazing credits, even given a loss here. Notice that we did lose that game, but that was my best damage game. I'm not going to, try and complain about that. Maybe in the moment I'll complain a bit about my team, but if we're thinking about it logically, it makes sense that the best damage games happen when your team loses. It gives you more opportunity to do more of the heavy lifting. More ships on the board for on the enemy team available for you to farm. Especially in close-ish games like that one, where at least it goes the distance. The blowouts don't count, but longer games where you lose, that's typically going to be your best damage games because your teammates aren't taking the damage from you. That's the whole idea. Sure, it would be nice to have a little better teams, don't get me wrong. It would be nice to win those games. In those carry situations, those end games, those are some of my favorite opportunities in the game, where it's a close match and you manage to clutch it out. That's my favorite, but you can't always win them, right? And we got insane damage anyway. Able to show off some of what Mainz can do. Into a Cyclone now, and what do you do in a Cyclone with a high DPM light cruiser? Well, you can just blind fire people based on minimap, and also, if we're honest, this smoke mod is basically cheating. I don't know how wargaming's allowed. There's a few mods in this game that I think are a lot. Certainly, we could say Navigator in the bottom left there is a bit of a cheater mod. I agree. Also, this smoke mod, it shows the center of the smoke puffs. And given the fast reload on the mines here, I'm able to almost trace where the Eden is going, so I know he's probably going to reverse. So just slowly aim backwards, and finally we get ourselves some Citadels. There's a few of those that I'm like, really, Wargaming? We're allowing these? Okay. But they're allowed, so I guess I'll use them. Yeah, but if you're not using these and you're trying to play competitive, you're probably just putting yourself at a disadvantage. For average games, you certainly don't need it, but it is a big, big advantage to just know the exact center of a smoke puff. There's some other issues with smokes. I really wish Wargaming would fix the smoke timer bugs. That would be really, really nice to fix as well. But we're not going to talk too much about that sort of stuff. Did want to mention it, though. Some of these mods are absolutely ridiculous. I have a video a while ago now on how to install mods, and on the Discord I actually have a relatively up-to-date channel, or a text channel, where I list the current mods that I am using if you're interested. But this is the last game I'm going to show you. I had a bit of a rough time playing Mainz, I won't lie. I'm showing you some pretty good games, but between these, there were some just miserable experiences. Mostly down to carriers, I gotta say. They were really, really annoying to deal with for a Mainz. The AA just is not good enough to deal with a carrier wanting to focus you. Shells landing short feels bad. I do want to point that out here. We're aiming high, or as high as we can, but the shells just are landing a little bit low. We get a few hits, but that's really about it. You're going to see later on how high you actually have to aim when somebody's turning away to actually hit the target. The aim assist is so annoying. That's another thing I wish Wargaming would be able to change, is allow us to turn off aim assist. Keep lock on, right? It's not track lock target. That only deals with if your cursor just follows the lock target. This really has to do with the aim assist they apply alongside the lock on dispersion. There's unlocked dispersion, and then when you lock onto a target, your dispersion is massively buffed, but they apply an aim assist where they try and predict for you where the enemy ship is going to go. But it doesn't take into account how they're turning or their change in speed. Speed and direction changes then are incredibly powerful. That's why the slow down, turn out, slow down, turn in is so powerful to avoid incoming fire, because the aim assist won't take that into account. The aim assist just thinks, I'm going in to shoot at someone who's just going to stay in a straight line, not turn, not change speed. And because of that, it pulls your shells towards where they would be if they aren't maneuvering. But if you maneuver, suddenly it's pulling your shells away from where that ship is going to be. And if you're good enough at the game and aiming and trying to predict where people are going to go, suddenly the aim assist is working against you, not with you. And it's very frustrating. Much more so in a battleship, in my opinion, because of those 30-second reloads, those long reloads. But in a light cruiser, it's still annoying to miss like four salvos where an enemy ship is turning out and you're, oh, look at this, I can just get some good damage in on them, and then the shells all go short. It's still annoying, even in a light cruiser, even in a destroyer, in my opinion. I'm being very greedy here, by the way, trying to get full damage in on the Iparanga, and it worked out because people just happened to not shoot at us. They were on the Flandre, I suppose, trying to finish him off, but open water, flat broadside, or broadside enough to take big hits like this, not really advisable, I would say. Here we're using island bugs. Anytime you're hitting an island or really close to an island, the auto aim is generally what's going to mess a lot of the dispersion up for you. You saw that at the very beginning in the first clip when the battleship grounded. We just couldn't hit them. And I'm kind of abusing that here too. There's plenty of bugs in this game that you can abuse when you're aware of them. I would prefer they just get fixed though, to be honest. Okay, enough of those complaints. Let's get back to the ship here. Maximum DPM in on this Dunkirk, absolutely amazing. I gotta say, the Iparangas having 51mm deck armor is a little annoying. It's very tough to deal with them as a Mainz. That's one of the key features of Mainz as a light cruiser. It allows you to full pen battleships at your tier. 32mm plating does not matter to this ship. It's a bit like, it's different obviously, but kind of like how Overmatch allows you to deal with certain cruisers at your tier as a battleship. This improved HE pen is a cruiser version of that. That might be a bit of a stretch. But that is kind of a way to conceptualize the improved HE pen. Oversimplifying it, definitely, but it's one way to think about it. San Diego pops out broadside, swap to the AP, get ourselves some nice citadels, even back guns only, doing monstrous DPM into this guy. Although that sap does certainly hurt us, Mainz just does not have armor. You need to be avoiding incoming fire. That's the key here. Carrier on us again. It's a little bit annoying, especially considering there's an NC just kind of sitting there, not maneuvering, still going after us. It's rough to deal with the carriers, guys. It really is quite difficult. King George is going to shoot us now, and guess what we're going to do? We're going to stop and turn away. And guess what? The shells are going to go towards where I would be if I did not slow down and turn away. Aim assist. We can take advantage of it. It's just very annoying to shoot at ships that do take advantage of it. So you should know that that is why people will turn out, slow down, or turn in and slow down. Playing with your rudder, playing with your speed, is basically abusing the aim assist to almost guaranteed avoid incoming salvos. And I said I wasn't going to rant about that. It's just something I find super annoying. It really is. In any ship. It's not just battleships. It really is any ship. It's one of the more annoying parts of this game. But I don't want to make these videos just on the annoying parts. Let's continue to talk about the good parts of Mainz. Already up to 120,000 damage. We have over half HP here, and we're in Iparanga secondary range. This is a little bit spooky, but thanks to our NC being around, that's mainly who our battleship is focused on, and we're able to do some decent damage in. Keep an eye out for the pens versus the shatters. We're still going to get a lot of shatters into his main guns, into the deck armor, into the belt armor, but still, we're going to have decent full pen damage thanks to our ability to pen his bow or stern. That's still an advantage that over 32 millimeters of pen affords you, especially at these closer ranges. Later game, it allows you to play a little closer to these battleships when you don't have to worry about multiple firing at you at once. You can avoid those individual salvos and try to pinpoint more elements of the enemy ship. Now, our fire chance is kind of leaving us a little bit frustrated at the moment, but it is still decent damage into him. But you're going to notice the individual salvos do lack a little bit of punching power. It is still very low alpha damage HE. Once you get a broadside, that is definitely the time to swap to that armor piercing. At this point, he's used his damage control, so no fires here. We can't get fires while someone's immunity time on their damage control is available. Now he's back off immunity, and then we get the fire right away. I think I was starting to complain about fires in-game at that point, and as always, when you start to complain about fire chance, it's like the game listens to... I mean, it doesn't, okay? It's not actually using your microphone, but it'd be funny. It's kind of a funny coincidence. When you start complaining about it, suddenly the RNG gives you a fire. Do you manage to finish off the Iparanga up to 160,000 damage now? It's a good ship, man. This is a very, very good ship. The guns are absolutely incredible. There's downsides to the hull, maneuverability, firing angles, armor, lack of any radar. I mean, the hydro is nice to have, I will say, but it's the guns, man. They're so good. Look at how high I'm aiming, by the way. Some of the shells are still landing short, but this is what I wanted to point out earlier. I have to aim this high to actually get full pens in on this King George. And at longer ranges, when your range doesn't quite allow you to even aim up that high, even though the target's well within your gun range, the shells will just automatically go short. The aim assist could use a looking at, in my opinion. Maybe a way to toggle it off. Keep lock-on accuracy, but remove the assist, the aim assist. I would prefer that, personally. But nice damage into this King George, and you notice he's trying to shoot the light cruiser. I do not blame him. It's not very much fun as a battleship player to get farmed down by a Mainz. Don't blame him one bit for shooting at me. And you're going to see just how well we're able to avoid incoming fire when it's only one battleship. That's the key here. One of the main reasons why cruisers are so good in the late game is because you don't have to worry about that other battleship or cruiser or destroyer torps or whatever. Multiple targets firing at you makes it very difficult as a light cruiser to avoid a lot of that incoming damage. King George does not have the largest caliber gun, so I don't even think he overmatches us. But still, the point remains that we're not even getting hit here at this point. Once we get a little closer, certainly it'll be hard to avoid that incoming fire. But as a cruiser, this is why it's so nice in the later game to have enough HP to tank a salvo or two, or take a DPM trade with an enemy cruiser if you find them, right? Like that San Diego there. It's so powerful in the late game that you can rack up so much more damage in those later game experiences if you don't over-aggress early and lose a lot of HP for relatively low damage output. At least that's kind of how I view the early game damage output. Now, the counterpoint obviously is, what about blowouts? If you play safe early, then you just get no damage in blowouts. And to that, I would say, Yeah, you're right. It's hard to know, man. It really is hard to know. But if you get these games that last a little longer, like these few I showed you, Mainz damage output is absolutely amazing. And this ship is so much fun to play. And looking where I put it kind of in A tier, mid A tier, I suppose, is where I had the Mainz. And that's a pretty good spot for it. I wasn't sure if I actually had put it down in B tier. I remember last few times I've played this ship, those up-tiered carrier games, it can struggle quite a lot. Tier 10 battleships, man, cross-mapping you, it's a rough experience, certainly, in those up tiers. But given how much fun I had in it, even though I did have some of those games where we kind of got pushed out of the match, it's still a very, very fun ship to play when you get the right matchmaker for it. You can see how the armor is not amazing. 27 mil deck armor is not great. And then the 25 millimeter sides and upper bow like this. But at closer ranges, that 40 millimeter icebreaker is okay for brawling. That's where if at really close ranges, specifically when you're getting rushed around an island, something like that, even a little bit at the stern here. You can't go directly stern in, but like angled a bit, not too bad. And you do get a decent amount of protection here, but this is nowhere near enough to really deal with battleship shells, especially lobbing battleship shells, where you're probably playing mid to long range with this ship. You have to watch out for getting citadeled quite easily when you're using all of your guns. You got to be a little bit scared of that. But it's fun, man. The DPM is just hilarious on this thing. The AP especially. I probably should have used more AP if I'm honest with you. Should have had a few games there where I focused on just using the AP to show you guys, because it is very, very good. Just that the HE on German ships is so powerful because it just pens everything, or almost everything. It'd be cool to see a light cruiser line of this, I'm not going to lie. I really would like to see that. 12 kilometer detection is pretty bad for a light cruiser, though, especially at tier 8. So that is the downside. Only 46,000 HP, no heal, not great armor, not great maneuverability. It's a harder ship to play than just the DPM would lead you to believe, but that DPM is so good, man. There's really not much else like it at tier 8 as far as damage output at range, and especially that AP is so good. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. That is going to do it for the Mainz. Be a very, very good option for a cruiser at tier 8 on this Black Friday. You get a nice discount for it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.